Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy special class. And hi to everyone who have been waiting for me. Extremely sorry, I apologize. Everyone, Nidhi, TRC, Kumar, Bhavana, Mule Alok, Tariq, Archana, Danu, Kumar, Saurav, Shivani Chandal, Abhishek Singh, everyone, a very big hi to everyone. And once again, welcome to Unacademy special class. And this is in regards to a Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. And about me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Thummala, and my credentials are: I have 8 years of teaching experience in civil services. I teach international relations, internal security, and in-depth analysis of Hindu editorials and articles. And this special class is in regards to how to crack prelims and mains 2020. Before I get into the topic, I would say good morning to Tariq also. Very good morning to Tariq and everyone who have joined now. And this is in regards to the Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. There is a notification that you need to go ahead with subscribing the Let's Crack UPSC CSE English, which is India's largest learning platform. And once you subscribe, you will have access to the unlimited live and recorded courses from the India's best educators from the Unacademy. And you have the privileges in regards to the daily live classes and then live test and quizzes, structured courses, and also unlimited access. You also have the top educators at Unacademy. The screen, what you can see it on your screen, which you can see, which you can have a glance at it. They are all the top educators, and even here you have the top educators at Unacademy who would take up various courses in regards to the Unacademy special class and then plus classes also. And then in regards to the courses, the UPSC Let's Crack UPSC CSE English has various courses. What you can see it here, like you have polity, geography, and current affairs, and all other courses which you can see it on your screen. Along with these, you also have the other courses for Let's Crack UPSC CSE English, the ethics and integrity. You have answer writing, CSAT paper, and also in regards to interview preparation. So these are all the courses which are available in the Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. And then in regards to the subscription, you have the subscription for 12 months and also for 24 months. It's always recommended to go ahead with the 24 months because in regards to the UPSC CSE English, you can go ahead with subscribing using my code SBT10, which is Sandeep Bhushan Thummala, and once you subscribe with my code, you will get 10% discount, wherein the original price is 48,000. Once the discounted amount would come down to 43,200. So it's always recommended to go ahead with the 24 months subscription, that is 2 years, because effectively you will be paying only for 13 months while you are subscribing for 24 months, that is 48 months. So it is a very good opportunity that you would be paying only for 13 months, but you would get the subscription for the entire 24 months. So it's always recommended to go ahead with subscribing for the 24 months. And then if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead with the subscribing for 24 months using my code SBT10, that is Sandeep Bhushan Thummala, and make sure that you also help and guide your friends so that with 13 months fees you can go ahead with subscribing for the 24 months. So now I'll get into the topic, that is in regards to the in-depth analysis of the editorials and articles, which I actually do daily go ahead with, wherein emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases, which will be very important for the prelims and also for the mains point of view. So what is important is to identify the keywords, key elements, or the key phrases which will be useful for analytical, factual, and also mains descriptive. So before I get into the topic, I would say a very big hi to everyone. Probably many of them might be thinking that this is a new is it a new class, is it a special class or something else. It is definitely a special class because we were guided or directed to go ahead with taking up all the slides even in the special classes. That is why I've taken up. Yes, Manoj is saying, Manoj Mandyal says, let's begin the class, sir. Yes, even I am as eager to go ahead with taking up the class, Manoj. Very good morning, Manoj. And now we will get into the topic. And today's topic is in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic versus or else COVID-19 pandemic, and what kind of what you say blueprint we need to have to revive the economy. So one side it is the pandemic, which is definitely going or making sure the health crisis is very badly hit, and at the same time what is happening is in regards to the livelihood. So this is what we have, the crisis, health crisis, and then how best we can go ahead with having a blueprint in regards to reviving the economy. As we know that the economy has been shattered because of the pandemic COVID-19 in India, especially. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, also we have seen that our economy, Indian economy, was in a doldrums, or it was in a kind of situation wherein it was instability because of the NPS and other financial institutions which have gone ahead with the bankruptcy because of the unemployment and all that. So it is now very important that we need to focus on the how best we can come up with the best blueprint wherein we can go ahead with reviving the economy, keeping in mind the essentials, what the strategic exit do consider, that is in regards to the that is in regards to the that is in regards to the health crisis, that is protecting the lives of the people, the great global lockdown. Okay, Sushant Keshwani, kindly brief. Okay, what is that? I need to brief. The great global lockdown, the economic impact, slower growth, recession, unemployment, poverty. Okay, reduced travel, tourism, disruption, commerce. Okay, very big list you have, Sushant. Definitely, I will try to go ahead with. And all who have joined, a very big hi to them. And then now I'll get into the topic, as Manoj is very eager in regards to the session. So definitely this is in regards to today's article, which talks about the blueprint to revive today's topic, sir. Today's topic is the blueprint to revive the economy. Today's topic is the blueprint to revive the economy. How best we can try to revive the economy, what is under the entire, what do you say, the damage has been done to the economic activity itself. So what is important is that the calibrated economic proposal is very important now. As we all know that the economic crisis, not only in India but across the world, is the world, and I mean the entire countries in the world are reeling under the economic crisis because of the pandemic situation, or because of the pandemic COVID-19. It has impacted the health crisis. Thereby, it has also impacted the economic crisis. Because of the pandemic, there is no activity which is going on in regards to the business activity. So total damage in regards to business activity has taken place. There is no imports or exports, there is no trade happening. Thereby what is happening is, as to restrict the spread of the virus, it is imperative for the entire countries to make sure that they go ahead with the national lockdown. When the national lockdown has taken place, definitely there is no imports and exports which is going on. They across the borders, there is no movement or transit or transport going on. So thereby there is an impact on the economic crisis. So that is what the importance of the entire government is, to focus on the lives, that is onto the health crisis, that is how to make sure that the lives of the individuals of the respective countries are protected. And in the midst of that, there is a crisis, that is in regards to the economic crisis. So now the point is how we can go ahead with tackling or overcoming the health crisis, making sure that we also revive the economic crisis, we also revive the activity which have been damaged because of the economic crisis. So that we have seen that the economic depression, which has actually been in the process in 1930s, and we have also seen the economic recession even in 2008. And aftermath of the 2008 economic recession, we have seen most of the European countries were reeling under the economic crisis. We have seen the Greece, we have seen Italy, we have seen Portugal, we have seen Spain, and now even many of the European countries are reeling under economic crisis. So the economic recession we have seen, I mean, almost a decade ago, that is to 2008, a decade ago. And then now again the entire world is also facing the economic recession. So this is very, I mean, widely used in regards to the economic depression and the economic recession, which is widely used. And this highlights the kind of what the entire world is facing, entire countries are facing. That is in regards to, we know that definitely there is health crisis and economic crisis. So the impact of the health crisis, or the consequences of the health crisis, would be the humanitarian and then the economic crisis, which is bound to happen. This, and we are, I mean, the entire world is facing it. The world is experiencing the health crisis, and then in regards to the economic crisis, further there would be an humanitarian crisis. That is what is important, that now the calibrated exit, that is the calibrated exit of the entire national lockdown or respective countries national lockdown, has to be taken into consideration, wherein that calibrated exit should be strategic, keeping in mind the lives and also keeping in mind the reviving of the economy. Keeping in mind the lives and also keeping in mind the reviving of the economy. So for that, how to revive the economy, we need to have a blueprint. For that, the discussion or in regards to the background, what I am taking is this. And then before I go further, I would say a big hi to everyone. And then Harpreet Singh has said this pandemic have far-reaching impacts. It is biggest loss in sense of mankind and economic losses in today's news. Barcelona parking a lot filled with coffin and IMF profits. Yes, absolutely. IMF has projected almost, a greater amount of 19 trillion of US dollars, which would be the impact economically. And Swishan says, Great Depression 1930, is there anyone how this is different from 2020 epidemiological corona? Okay. See, if you look at the previous economic crisis also we have seen, or else if you look at the 2008 economic crisis, it was because of the NPS, or it was because of the US subprime mortgage loans. It was because of the subprime mortgage loans. But here, if you look at, nothing was in regards to the economic crisis man-made or any kind of economic activity damaged. It was not in regards to that. But we have seen this. The major thing is like what we have seen in the plague-like situation, or else in the previous H1N1 or previous SARS or MERS or even Ebola virus, Nipah virus, Hendra virus. But this virus has impacted the lives and also impacted the economy. Thereby, the economic recession is bound to take place, and then we need to make sure that the economic recession will not further escalate towards the economic depression. If it escalates, then it will be very dangerous, because we cannot come out. Talking about the strategic exit, when we are talking about the social distancing, national lockdown, and then when we are inching, if we are inching from the economic recession to the economic depression, then what will happen is that definitely there would be a crisis. Yes, economic recession, you have the different stages. Sushant, you have the different stages in regards to the crisis. You have the economic instability, and then economic crisis, economic recession, and then the further, which would be a major impact, would be economic depression. That means we will not be able to come out of it very fast. That is what we need to make sure, that it is phases in regards to the economic, what I have said, economic instability, economic crisis, economic recession, and then further in regards to the economic depression. So these are the various levels of the crisis wherein the economy will be badly hit, and then how best we can try to come out of it. That is what the topic is today, that the blueprint to revive the economy, so that we will be actually protected even from the economic recession. And then if at all we are able to, all globally we are able to have the blueprint to come out of the economic recession, then it's better that we will not slip into economic depression. That what has happened in the 1930s in regards to the World War. Then we have seen the wars which has impacted very badly the lives and also the economy. So thereby again, to revive the economy, it will be very tough. So thereby we have to make sure that there would be a blueprint. And Sushant, I expect that you have understood the difference between the economic depression. It is the different phases of how the economy will be shattered. And then because of this national lockdown, we have seen every sector has been badly hit in every countries. Not only in regards to the India, every sector in every country has been badly hit, and it is at the receiving end that how best we can try to revive the economy is very important. And then at the same time, reviving the economy and making sure that the lives are also protected. The pandemic situation will not, the impact of virus will not spread virulence, and the social distancing is also maintained. That is what is the need of the hour. And then this, because of the not national lockdown, what we have seen, that we have achieved to prevent a little bit, to larger extent, or we can say a little bit at this moment, that we could save many lives and then the spread of virus, or else we have broken the chain of the transmission of the COVID-19. So that has really, brought in a positive result in regards to the national lockdown. Not talking the global lockdown itself. It has been a very good approach in regards to at least breaking the transmission of the virus. But it had a negative impact also, a cascading effect which has taken place. That is in regards to, we have saved the lives. But what is important is we need to even protect the livelihoods. So we need to protect the livelihoods. When we are talking about protecting the livelihoods, the government of India, or the entire, all the respective countries, all the respective countries have to protect the lives of the individual, of the respective citizens, and also make sure that there has to be simultaneously economic activity which has to come into existence. Economic activity has to come into existence. So when economic activity has to come into existence, it is the government's responsibility, respect to government responsibility across the world, that they have to follow a strategic exit, keeping in mind the functioning of the economic activities, and also making sure that maintaining the social distancing is very important. So here the tough question or the tough challenge for the government across the world is that lives are important, livelihood is important. Protecting the lives is important, providing the livelihood is also important. That is what the blueprint for the economy to revive is very, very important. And we can achieve this both. Now, what is the tough is that lives and livelihood, it is whether it is lives or whether it is livelihood. So both are important. Both are important at this time. Otherwise, what will happen is the economic instability towards economic recession, and economic recessions to further economic depression, and then it will be again very difficult for the entire world to again bounce back to the economic condition what we are actually now. It will take a lot of time, at least a decade or half a decade to 1 decade it might take, and that is very cost, it would cost very dear. So the blueprint for the economic revival has to be that we have to focus on both, that is the lives and the livelihood, and this can happen, this is what is important, by a smart lockdown, or else yesterday I was talking about the an experiment wherein it was kind of what you say, trying to have a calibrated exit. So it is a smart lockdown wherein we can make sure that a careful economic management has to be into the process with the careful management or economic management. A smart lockdown wherein it would be a strategic exit, keeping in mind the lives and also keeping in mind of the livelihood. Okay, just before I get into the next slide, I'll just read the doubts if any. Before that, I would say a big hi to everyone who have joined. Harpreet says that Prime Minister said Jaan bhi hai or Jahan bhi. It shows government preparing for saving lives and livelihoods, sir. Okay, very good, very good. And it is a need of the hour, not only for India, it is a need of the hour for the entire world, that they have to protect the lives and also provide livelihood. Shushan says, sir, kindly make a WhatsApp group where these class students can take part of it possible. Harpreet agree. Okay, fine. I'll make sure. I'll make sure. And then now we have to look at, because what is important is the lives and the livelihood. A smart lockdown is very important, a strategic exit is important, a calibrated exit is important. So at this time what we need to focus is that what are the challenges, and challenges in regards to the demand, challenges in regards to the supply. Definitely there is a huge demand, but there is a very, what do you say, the supply is at a very at a meager side, the supply is. So there is a demand because of the entire entire global lockdown. The supply is not happening, trade is not happening, imports and exports are not happening from within the countries, except few of the essential commodities, and then the medical equipments, especially in regards to the N95 masks, ventilators or personal protective equipments, and then in regards to the few medicines, only in regards to our sanitizers, they are the one which are having the trade, imports and exports. But apart from that, major imports and exports are not happening, thereby the supply is being badly hit, there is high demand. So this is the biggest challenge what we are facing now, the India is facing and also the entire world is facing. So this economic crisis needs a demand side and also a supply side. This is very important for the understanding a comprehensive about what the blueprint of the India to revive the economy has to be in the process. That is an economic crisis, whatever crisis we are facing now, in specific to India, now we are talking about in specific to India, it should definitely have a demand side and a supply side, and that is compulsory. That is what is mandatory. We need to have a demand side and then supply side, but the demand side is very high and the supply side is very low. That is what is important, and we need to target at the conclave of the demand and supply. Conclave in the sense the where both demand and supply, what is meet in the graph. That is the point wherein we need to target, and then we have to make sure that the demand and supply are the balanced one. No individual, that is the demand and supply should not be extremely high or extremely low. And RB said yes, definitely we should go for this group. Okay, fine. And before that, I would say a very big hi to them, everyone who had joined. And this is important. Why? So that we can diagnose the scale of economic crisis. So unless we know the impact of the amount of demand and then the amount of supply, unless we cannot understand, or we can understand, but precisely diagnosing the scale of economic crisis is important. That is what is important. See, please do understand. My topic was in regards to the blueprint for the revival of the economy. Blueprint for the revival of the economy. But to have a blueprint, what we need to understand is what are the major challenges. And major challenges is now in regards to the demand and supply. We need to understand the demand and supply. At the same time, we need to understand what kind of demand, how much percentage, and what kind of supply, how much percentage is in regards to the both in contrast or in combination with the both demand and supply. In this regards, what is important is diagnosis is important. We need to understand clearly, precisely what is important, whether demand is high or supply is low, and then that diagnosis is very important for the blueprint for the revival of the economy. And this is important to understand the scale or the intensity of the economic crisis, because every country is saying that we are reeling under economic crisis. Until unless we get to the in-depth analysis of the diagnosis of the what is the impact, what is the intensity, what is the cascading effect of the economic crisis, is very important. And Lankesh, Ravan, Kamaljeet, Nagaraj, Pritika has joined. Everyone a very big hi before I get into it. And now what is important is Sushant says if anyone is agree for group. Okay, okay, fine. Uh, very good morning, Lankesh. And then the central government has already announced. So when we are looking at the what is the various challenges that is in regards to demand and supply, there definitely there is a demand and there is a what you say supply has to be also maintained. So the central government has come up with the measures to handle the demand, measures to handle the demand. And what is that it is going ahead with through the supply, how it is handling the demand is by the distribution of free food, that is by the food supplies. How it is supplying the food, that is through the that is it is supplying the food grains through what, that is through the PDS system, through the ration shops or the fair price shops. So this is very important and it is doing, the government is going ahead with. But there are few challenges in regards to the government trying to go ahead with supply of the food grains through the PDS system, that is the fair price side, that is ration shops, because there are few concerns, few challenges. What are that? That the ration shops are identifying the requirement. What is important is this diagnose. I was talking about this diagnose. So diagnosing the requirement is very important. The intensity of the demand is important. Intensity of identifying the diagnosis of the demand is very important. Until unless we identify the demand, we think that demand is only up to certain extent. But when we actually get into the ground level, the field level, that is how much the people are expecting the food grains, or how many people, or what is the entire beneficiaries who requires the amount of food grains, then that is what is important. That is the diagnosis which we have to do in regards to the demand, and that is the responsibility of the state government and then the central government in regards to how they would supply the food grains through the PDS systems via fair price sizes shops, that is ration shops. So identifying requirement is a big hurdle now. And then they are also wanting this, what is this identity requirements, that they are saying either you need to have ration cards or other cards. So that is a very big issue to many of the migrant workers. So that is also a problem which is being identified when the government is going ahead with a very kind approach that they wanted to provide or supply the food grains. But what is the government, I mean the staff who are also told to ask the one who is beneficiary is to get the ration card or the Aadhaar card. So now even that is important, that we need to overcome that, not to see whether it is ration card or whether it is Aadhaar card. We have to now go ahead with providing the food grains. And if we can go ahead with removing that, removing that or not really focusing on the ration card and Aadhaar card, a few set protocols, so it will be very important that the demand supply would be little bit lessened. Now before getting into the next topic, Harpreet says that the government really need a mechanism to diagnose the scale of economic challenge. Yes, Harpreet said this is very important steps are yes. This roadblock of proven identity document need to be removed. Just added the food grain in this. Okay, very good, and I would say a very big high now. And that is what is important, that to diagnose the demand, diagnose the demand, and then go ahead with what are the requirements, that when we are actually providing the government is providing through the PDS system, what are the requirement, ration card, or if they are just having one card document, it is enough. And now we will look at the measures. So we have looked at the demand and supply challenges. Now we will look at the measures. Yes, definitely in regards to the measures, it is the responsibility of the state government and also the central governments. When we look at, definitely there are issues in regards to which has to be handled by the state governments, and also which has to be again taken care by the central government. So here what is important is the center and the states have to work in tandem. That means it is not that state will work as if they are separate and then center will go ahead with the measures that it is separate. No, the need of the hour is to make sure that they will come together in a coordinated effort. They will work in tandem together to make sure that they identify the hotspot. This is very important. What is the best measure to overcome the crisis, that is pandemic situation? First is health crisis. That is to make sure that both in together have a coordinated effort, have a committee, and then make sure that they both will identify the hotspots, not only at the district levels. Please do understand, this is very important. Not only at the district levels but also at the block and mandal levels. This is very important because when we are unable to focus the hotspots at the block and mandal levels, therefore the infection will it would spread very violent, and that will again further escalate towards the district. And once the districts are affected, it would further escalate towards the community transmission. And once we are into the third stage transmission, that is community transmission, then we will not be in a position, I mean the government machinery, all the health machinery will not be in a position to identify from which, I mean, person the infection is happening or from which side the infection is happening. So that is very important to go ahead with identifying the hotspot and then quarantining them, trace them, test them, and then treat them. Trace, test, and treat them. By going ahead with that, they would be put in the quarantine camps by providing the necessity, that is in regards to foods and also medical equipment. So it is the central and the state government's responsibility to identify and then make sure that the hotspots are not just at the district levels but also to be identified at the block and mandal levels. And this is very important to diagnose the scale of the economic crisis accurately. Why I am saying this, once until unless you identify the scale of the health crisis, until unless we identify, the center and the state together identify the infection or the spread of the infection of the SARS-CoV-2, we cannot estimate the economic crisis. Please do understand, there is definitely a link, a directly proportionate link between the infection and then to the economic crisis. There is, and that is what the government has to go ahead to diagnose the scale of the economic crisis. It is very important to diagnose the infected persons. That means trace, test, and treat. First is trace, test, and treat in regards to the health, and then go ahead with the scale of identifying the scale of economic crisis, and then come out with the revival of the economic activity, and then the government should immediately address the miseries. So when we are talking of the miseries, definitely the one who is badly hit is the migrant workers because of the national lockdown. The migrant workers were the one who were come from one X state to another state for the better livelihood and better lives, better, I mean having a better life and better livelihood. First is livelihood and then their lives. But as there were no livelihood being provided because of the national lockdown, entire manufacturing units, production units were totally shut down. So they were preferring, rather than being in the state wherein they were actually having the livelihoods and the lives, but they preferred to go to their respective states or respective villages. So in the process, what has happened is they were the one who were badly hit because of the unemployment. And this is very important. The state governments and the central governments has to focus on the poor and the vulnerable sections. Because of the national lockdown, they have to make sure that they be provided money and also the food, because the migrant workers may not have the ration card. Please do understand, they may not have the ration card. They may have the ration card but in the respective district or respective place. But now the government is slowly coming out with the one card one nation, one card one nation, even that ration card, one card one nation, wherein that person, the beneficiary, can get or avail the food grains any part of this country, any part of the country. But if it have been, what you say, implemented before this pandemic, it would have been very better for the migrants. But because the situation, it is not totally implemented across the country, so as they are not providing the ration card, so they feel at least for food they can go to the respective states and then at least utilize their ration card through the PDS system and at least have the food. So they were going, what he said, they were definitely ramping into the it was a exodus, or the entire migration was happening into the respective states. So that is the need of the government has to focus. Yes, there was some kind of lacuna, that some kind of, what you say, lacuna which has taken place when the national lockdown has happened, that the They probably, I'm saying probably, I'm not trying to criticize the government. Probably the government did not, what you say, give more time to the migrant workers to shift if they wanted to their respective states. And because of that national lockdown within, which was just within, what is a few hours, it has impacted the poor and vulnerable. And now the government has to focus on this poor and vulnerable people, especially the migrant workers. Okay, I will just read the doubts or the queries. Sir, as Niti Aayog, is it time of cooperative federalism? Definitely it is cooperative federalism, no doubt about it. Cooperative federalism and then the separation of powers also. Sir, Nashad Khan says, sir, if we are buy Unacademy subscription to your code, so we can only uh, send answer writing to you, sir, or no. Nashad Khan, it is if you are using my code, it is that you will be having all my live and recorded courses, not only mine in regards to my classes, but you can also view the live and recorded courses of all the educators in regards to all the educators and all the courses. Nashad Khan, I think you have got it. Not only in regards to mine, but all the educators and all the courses you can view it. So when you are using my code, that is SBT Sandeep Bhushan Thummala 10, you can use, or you will have access to all the live and recorded courses of all the subjects, all the topics, all the courses, all the educators. I think I've what do you say explained, given a right answer, Nashad. Please reply. And Arpit says that, sir, we can implement 5T model of New Delhi launched by Delhi government. Okay, fine. But sir, Tariq Ahmed sir says, but sir, what about testing, which is low? Definitely. The government is also focusing on that, and even ICMR, Indian Council for Medical Research, has also said that we are going ahead with the testing and we are into the process of aggressive testing. ICMR has said that, Indian Council for Medical Research has said that we are going ahead with the aggressive testing, and yesterday the lot has come. The lot, I mean the in regards to the testing kits from China, we have received it. We expect that more of testing would take place, tracing and testing would take place. Tariq Ahmad also says, sir, what about testing? Yes, it is definitely, it will be taken care of. And now ICMR is also focusing on that, because if you don't focus at this juncture, this time, then it will be spreading of the virus would be very high. And I think whatever I've said to the Nashad, the explanation or the way I've answered to Nashad, I think you have understood, Nashad. And Arpit says, sir, what about you think about ICMR pool testing? Is it good or not? Okay, as of now, we will have confidence, we will have faith on the ICMR, on also the health ministry, that the testing would take place as promptly. And then because in regards to testing, there are different testing. You have a molecular testing, you have a antibiotic testing. Wherein the molecular testing, sometimes what happens is there would be a possibility that the person would be shown as healthy as not having any symptoms. But again, if you go out with antibody testing, antibodies, the count would be less. Then again, that means when the count are less, then there is a possibility that the person might be infected. So there are various tests, and depends upon the immunity system of the individuals also. It depends. Immediately it cannot be, what you say, displayed because of the molecular test, and then because of the antibody test, it could also, what you say, show it that there is some kind of infection. So definitely we will go ahead that there is a possibility, and we will have faith and confidence on the ICMR, and on also on the, what is the entire health, the doctors also, machinery itself. With bro text me, okay, fine. So I'm saying they're choosing pool of 5% and testing them. Okay, you are talking about the probabilities, yes, because they are looking at probably, what I feel is they are looking at the number of infected cases, and then in regards to the proportionate they are doing it. But what is important is testing has to be increased. What you said is absolutely right, Harpreet. Testing has to increase. That is what I'm saying. ICMR has said that it will go ahead with the aggressive testing. That is what is important. Aggressive testing is very important. Okay, we will not aggressive proven, at least for India. I mean, we will as Indians, we will have that confidence. Fine. Methodology, yes, they try to take it into consideration as per the health ministry, the task force, and then the ICMR together will try to identify the number of. They will go ahead with the testing, taking into consideration of the stages, the transmission, the stage, the transmission, different stages, whether it is, what do you say, the first stage, or whether it is the in regards to the second stage, or whether it is in regards to the third stage, that is in regards to the community transmission. When it is community transmission, then definitely it has to be aggressive testing, wherein testing not only to the one who have been infected, but each and every person randomly they have to go ahead with the testing. And what are the other measures? Is that as I've said, the importance is that they have to focus on the feeding the workers. And then what is important, when the workers were moving away from the respective states wherein they have come for the livelihood, so the government has to focus on the employer, that is the one who was providing the jobs, the manufacturing units. So the government has to make sure that the employer is also protected, and then the employer should be protected by various means in regards to pumping the money or giving some kind of benefits to the employer, so that the employer would re-employ the migrant workers. And that is what is the blueprint for the revival of the economy. And if you look at what are the other measures, is that the government has to go ahead with pumping the money through to the one who has. Uma says, is this your first video? Uma, first of all, I would say very hi to you. Hi to you. No, probably this is somewhere around 25 or 26th video. It is 25th or 26th video, special class, what I am taking up in regards to the in-depth analysis of the editorials and articles, which will be very, very useful for the prelims, factual, analytical, and also in regards to the mains descriptive point of view. Uma, can I know, is this your first class? Is this your first class, Uma? Okay, thank you, Anam. Thank you very much. I would wish to know from Uma. Yes, sir. Okay, fine. No. This is my almost 25, 26th. And did you find any kind of, what do you say, difficulty in understanding? Please let me know, so that I would try to cater to each and everyone. I would try to cater to each and everyone. Uma, please let me know. And as the government has the list of the entire bank details, as we are talking about the Aadhaar, you have the linking, and then you have various schemes also, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Arogya Yojana. You also have the Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So through this, what the government can go ahead is, they can try to have the list of the households wherein the amount can be pumped in, along with the money, even the food, that is the PDS system, can also be taken into consideration, focusing on the below poverty line, that is the poor and vulnerable sections. So that is the measures what the government has to go ahead. And then the other one is that Telegram, in regards to Aman, Telegram is Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. The Telegram is Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. And what is important is that many experts were talking about the pumping of money, or else the money to be credited to the below poverty line or the vulnerable sections, the one who have the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan accounts, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan accounts. First it started at 1500. 1500 has to be, what is put into their families, respective families, and then later on it has been revised. I mean, it's a suggestion, 3000, and now the suggestion made is that at least 5000 has to be given per family for all the, what you say, below poverty line who have the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan accounts, so that there would be, what you say, the amount, I mean, because of the national lockdown, because of the unemployment, there would be a better opportunity in regards to having some kind of income with the people. And this 5000 of pumping money into the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan accounts, that is the beneficiaries, it will cost the government is around 65,000 crores. 65,000 crores will be an estimated amount if 5,000 rupees is credited per family, not individual, per family of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan accounts. So it will be costing 65,000. And then what the measure is also by the few of the experts is that now it is 5,000 rupees has to be credited, and later on in the month of May, 3,000 rupees has to be credited. That means a reduction of from 5,000 to 3,000 has to be taken into consideration, so that in the meanwhile, from April to May, there would be some kind of economic activity which will come into action. So that the economic activity which will come into action will also make sure that there is some kind of, what you say, jobs which are created, employment, and then income or savings which will come into existence. And that will cost around 39,000 crores of rupees. So here the measure is very clearly that the money has to be provided or to be credited to the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan account Yojanas beneficiaries so that at least now 5,000 rupees per family, and then later on from the month of May it should be 3,000. So this is very important in regards to the your understanding capacity, what is the impact on the migrant workers or to the unorganized sectors, workers of the unorganized sectors, or else the informal sectors who are part of the informal sectors, how they are badly hit because of the national lockdown, and these are the measures. And then there has to be a universal food distribution also, as yes, the government is going ahead with that in regards to the PDS system what the government is following. And this, where if you look at this, government has to focus or work in tandem with the state governments, so that whatever the kind of what you say coordination has to be, not only in regards to the coming out with the measures, but also it has to be taken into consideration even by taking the PDS system into account. The universal food distribution has to happen. That is what I was talking about, one card, one ration, one country, one card. So that has to come into existence. Even now, if it is not officially coming, the center and state have to come together, and then universal food distribution has to what you say come into existence. And then they have to remove the kind of all the documents what they have to provide when they're going ahead with the taking the food grains, or when they would get the food grains from the PDS system or the fair price shops. Okay, I will just read a few of the Spanish flu 1918-19 was much more dangerous than COVID-19. I feel as per what is a few of the reports what I've read, that this is the worst hit which has, when you are saying the Spanish flu itself, it is confined to what is a Europe. It is confined to Europe, but it did not affect the way this SARS-CoV-2 is affecting, or affected, not affecting, it is affected the entire world. So definitely this is as dangerous as it has never happened in the past. So we not here. So we not here. Is it the audible not clear? You are taking which subject? Aman Khazi is saying you are taking which subject? I am here to go ahead with the in-depth analysis of the editorials and articles of the newspaper, especially focusing on the Hindu newspaper. In-depth analysis of the editorials and articles, and also few trending topics which could be contemporary issues also, but mainly focusing on the Hindu editorials and articles, which will be very useful for the prelims, analytical point of view, factual point of view, and also in regards to the mains point of view, descriptive, it will be very useful. So Aman, I think you have understood. I mean, I think you got the answer. I'm taking up the editorials and analysis in depth, and my emphasis is on that word, keyword, in depth analysis. I will not just what you say, just glance and then leave it there. No, for the benefit of the students, I will definitely go ahead with the in depth, wherein you will have a thorough understanding. If the question is asked in the prelims from various angles, you will be ready to answer it. You will not be in a dark state, I mean dark mind, when you are sitting in the examination hall, when the topic is that topic is one, but you will have various questions in the prelims. The topic could be one, but the UPSC will frame questions in a different fashion, or varied fashion. So thereby my class will definitely help you all. Take it for granted, have faith in me, I am doing that job. And then Harpreet says Spanish flu killed 50% of people in Europe. Definitely, no doubt about it. But the way it is going ahead is differently. Telegram link, please. It is Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. Aman, Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. Telegram link is Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. And now I'll move further in regards to my discussion. So here I'm talking about the amount money what is required and how it is being actually affected the common man. This is what I would actually wanted to prove it. So what is the budget, what is the tax, and how it is being affected. And now it is the need of the hour for the central government and the state government to just focus on the pumping money into the individuals. And the other one is that as the government has come up with the new guidelines for the Manrega, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, as it was stopped because of the national lockdown. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act is stopped, is altered, temporarily halted because of the national lockdown, because of the social distancing, because to make sure that the spread of virus doesn't take virulent, or to break the transmission of the SARS-CoV-2, the Manrega has been stopped. But April 15th, just couple of days back, a new guidelines have come that they would restart the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. And in regards to the measures what we are talking about, the challenges in regards to demand supply. Please to understand, you need to have a thorough what is a linking also. First we discussed about the demand and supply challenge. We looked at the challenges, and then now we are focusing on the measures what the government or the central, the state government can come up the measures so that they can try to handle effectively the challenges in regards to demand and supply. What is prevailing in our country, prevailing across the country, that is various states and across the country, the challenges which are prevailing, that is in regards to the demand and supply, we have looked at, and what measures can be taken up so that we can overcome the demand and supply challenge. And that one of that is that in regards to Manrega was stopped because of the national lockdown, focusing on the social distancing, and now the government has decided, that is the central government has decided, that they will go ahead with the restarting of restarting of Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So that again here what is important is livelihood is taken into consideration. Blueprint for revival of economy. This is one of the measure. Again, this is restarting or the new guidelines is what? It is a blueprint. Please do understand, the linking is very important. For civil servant aspirant, linking is each and every point looks very simple, but when you take it into consideration, it matters a lot for prelims, and it matters a lot when you're writing the answer in the mains. And the one who have all joined, I would say a big hi to everyone. And the other measure is that if there is a possibility, the government, that the central government can go ahead with, or the state governments can go ahead with making sure that the district collector would be given a freedom to start and expand the Manrega, to start and expand, because not just starting is not important, expanding is important, because this is one of the measure wherein the livelihood is provided, and this Manrega providing livelihood is the one, or else the economic activity to function. Manrega is one of the activity to, so that economic activity functions, and that is again making sure that livelihood is provided. Extremely sorry, livelihood is provided. When livelihood is provided, so what is the measure is the district collector has to be given more freedom to start and then make sure that it expands. Not only that, there is also a measure which wherein the experts are saying that if for whatever reason the Manrega is not still started, or it is what you say restarted, what the measure is, at least for 10 days in a month, the government, that is the central government, has to deposit the money, whatever the Manrega amount is being deposited to the beneficiaries. So at least that to the Manrega workers, or when we are talking Manrega workers, where what is very important is registered Manrega workers. By any chance or for whatever reasons, if the new guidelines is not being implemented because of various reasons, if it is not what is restarted also, the government, I mean it is a measure, the government should at least deposit 10 days wages for the registered Manrega workers, and this will, what it will prove is that the livelihood is supported. This will ensure the livelihood. And Sushant Keshwar said citizens must not hide the travel or contract. Yes, that is very important. As a citizen, as a responsible citizen of India, they have to go ahead with that. They have to let the information know to the it could be to the state government or to the central government. That is what my one of the measure was, first measure. What was the first measure is, please look into here, Sushant. And you have said a very valid point. You have said a very valid point, and then I said the first measure is the central and the state government should identify the hotspot, and the hotspot could be because of the one who have been traveled also, the one who have the travel history also, and just not at the district levels but also at the block and mandal level. So it is the responsibility of the individuals as a responsible citizen, and also one of the measure is that the central and the state government should focus identifying the hotspot at the district and also the block and mandal level. And there should be a strategic planning. What is important is in this entire blueprint for the revival of the economy. आदित्य योगी सर आपने भी यूएससी के तैयारी किया थे. Okay, Rahul Jain, which one to repeat? Please let me know which one to repeat, Rahul. I would certainly what do you say, go ahead with. And last point. Okay, last point is that what the measure I have said is, first and foremost measure is that the state and the central government have to come together to identify the hotspots. So it should not be that the states have to, what you say, identify the hotspots in the state, and then the center will take care about different parts or different ways. No, it is the responsibility of the measure. What we are taking the measure is both have to come together, both have to work together, both have to come as a coordinated effort, and then and then make sure that the hotspots are identified. If the hotspots are identified not only at the district level but also at the block and mandal level, so when we can try to identify the hotspots at the district, block and mandal level, then we can restrict the spread of coronavirus infection to spread. And once the infection is spread, we can try to handle the health crisis effectively. When you are able to handle the health crisis effectively, that means we are also handling the virtually parallelly, we are handling effectively the economic crisis also. Please do understand here, when we are able to handle effectively the health crisis, definitely parallelly we are also going ahead with effectively handling the health crisis, because lives are important. When we are focusing on lives, definitely livelihood would be coming into existence. I think you have understood. Rahul, आदित्य होगी सर आपने भी यूपीएससी के तैयारी किए थे क्या और कर रहे थे? What, I don't know what you are saying, whether you are saying whether I've done the preparation or still I'm going in the preparation. It's been almost 20 years. I mean, I finished by giving my attempts almost 16 years back. And I have a lot of experience in regards to how the preparation has to be effectively, strategy of preparation for prelims and also mains. And I would definitely go ahead with sharing that experience with you all. And in regards to the strategic planning, when you have the blueprint, you have to identify the challenges. Demand and supply challenge is one of the blueprint of reviving the economy. And the second one is in regards to having the measures in place which can be coordinated with the center and the state. And the third one is in regards to the strategic planning. And what is the strategic planning is that starting from 4th May, there would be a new guidelines. What are these guidelines? That there would be a strategic exit or calibrated exit or a phased manner exit. Why? Because they wanted to make sure that the livelihoods are coming into the forefront. That means when the livelihoods are coming into the forefront, that means that economic activities are actually getting into the process. There is, right now there is a serious damage done to the economic activity. But what is the strategy is that strategic planning or strategic exit or calibrated exit. In that, what is important is as per the new guidelines, economic activities have to be permitted, but taking into consideration the social distancing will be maintained, and taking into consideration this expanding of the economic activity will take place in non-hotspot areas. That is very important. When we say the activities will take place, economic activities will take place, and then livelihoods would be provided, it doesn't mean that it will be provided even in the hotspot areas. No, absolutely no. Hotspot areas will be under national lockdown itself. It would be taken into consideration that that the social distancing will be maintained, and there would be total almost the maximum cut in regards to the livelihood, providing livelihood, and livelihood would be provided. Economic activity would be taken into consideration, or expansion of the economic activity will take place only in the not spot areas, and that is the biggest strategic planning. And that is the biggest strategic planning, and first and foremost. And the other one is, as what do you say, Harpreet or Sushant, I don't know who, someone was saying that, sir, ICMR, is it going ahead with the required number of testing? Yes, there is a question mark raised. And what is the strategic planning now is that continuous testing and monitoring is very important. Continuous testing and monitoring is important. When I am talking about continuous monitoring and testing is important, it is aggressive testing which has to take place. If the aggressive testing is taking place, only then we can make sure that we can identify the new areas, we can identify the new hotspots. when we can try to identify the new areas or new hotspots before the virus spreads virulent, then we can try to contain the spread of the virus. When we can try to contain the spread of virus, we can try to save many lives. When we can try to save many lives, that means we are able to restrict the negative impact of the health crisis. So we are able to have the control over the health crisis. There definitely control over the economic crisis. So this is also a blueprint for the revival of the economy. And the economic activity, that is the labor and capital, is very important. So we have seen that the labor and capital has totally, what is it, diminished. It has been come to a standing halt. It has come to a null and void because of the national lockdown, because of the manufacturing and the production units which have come to the standstill. Because of that, the labor and the capital has come down. Now what is important of the blueprint for the revival of the economy is to make sure that this diminished labor and the capital has to be again, what do you say, erased, or it has to be again made sure that the labor is again getting some livelihood, and also the one employer who have shut down the manufacturing units have to be provided with the capital. And it is now the responsibility of the state and the central government to pump money, or to have, or to give some kind of, what is a, measures or some kind of relaxation to the one who are going ahead with the manufacturing units, or to the manufacturing units, or to the startup business, or the business person. They have to make sure that all this is being provided. And before I get into the next topic, Sushant said that COVID impact globally, weakening of the US, EU and UK. Yes, we did discuss yesterday. Not UK, we did discuss about the European Union, the couple of days back, and also yesterday we did talk about the kind of the freezing of the fund to the WHO by US President, how it will impact the US, also UK, definitely, because now it is out of European Union. And then a very big hi to everyone who have joined at the fag end of my session. And what is important is the 3/4 of the entire 80 million, that is the one who are into the local areas, or who are into the migrant workers, or who are into the informal and then unorganized sectors. If you look at the entire activity which take place, economic activity, I'm very particular in regards to the economic activity. What take place is the it gets operated, or the activity take place in the local areas. Please do understand here, this is the biggest, what is a keyword, a key phrase, when you can write it in your Samrudh Hastak slide said that slide. What do you mean by that? Please let me know, Samrudh. Please let me know. Please let me know about that, Samrudh. What do you mean by slide? And everyone who have joined, a very big hi. So it is the 3/4 of the 80 million people whose the economy is actually getting into that by the local area. So what is important for the government is that it is that the government has to focus that the revival of the economic activity, focusing especially in the local areas. So economic activity has to be revived in the economic areas. Okay, Samrudh says slide means, that means you are unable to hear. Okay, the audio is not clear. Okay, I mean from my end it is very clear. I will try to check with everyone. I mean, is it okay with the others? If the audio is okay, I don't know whether, I mean, from my point it is okay. Okay, Samrit should be quarantined. No. I can't hear you. Okay, no problem, Samrit. I will try to, what you say, look into the matter. Sir, last point. Okay, last point in the sense we are talking about this labor and capital. Yes. So when we are talking about the labor and capital, it is that very important, as the labor, the shortage of the labor because of the national lockdown, and then shortage of the capital because of the national lockdown. Because there is no economic activity, there is no capital which is happening, especially in regards to the working capital and also investment capital. That is, investment and the working capital are very important. Capital in the sense money. Fine. So if there is money, there is, I mean, now there is no money, no labor also because of the national lockdown. So what is important is the point in regards to the reviving, or a blueprint to revive the economy, is to make sure that the government also focuses on the reviving the labor, or else making the labor is provided. I mean, there is a good amount of labor being provided to the economic activity, and also for the economic activity to run, there has to be a working capital, and that is very important for the government to provide. I think you have understood, Sania Hussain. I think you have understood. And now in regards to the economic activity, what I was talking about is that much of the economic activity take place in the local areas. So the government has to focus on the local areas, that how the economic activity is taking place and how best the government can provide a strategic planning to make sure that the economic activity in the local areas takes place or it is coming into action, and that will provide the entire what you said system functioning. That is when we are talking about it is the small shops or the service establishment or even the self-employed. So the economic activity has to be focused. Now when we are talking about in local areas means local areas is a small shops, is a service establishment, small service establishment, or the self-employment. So these are the one wherein the commercial activity actually takes place, and this should be focused by the government so that the commercial activity at the local levels take place, because these are the one which adds a very big amount to the national economy or the national economic activity. So thereby it is very important the government has to focus on the local economic activity. For example, as I was saying, small shop, service establishment, and then self-employed. And then not only in regards to this economic activity, local economic activity, but a new guidelines have also come up for the agriculture activity. So what is that agriculture activity? As we have seen, agriculture totally depends on the harvesting. Now we have seen the Rabi harvesting has been successfully done, and the next season would be the Kharif season. And regards to the once the harvesting is done, it is the need of the hour for the government, that is the state and the central government, to focus, both the central and state governments, to focus that the harvest is being what you say moved, are transported from the farmer's house or from the fields to the godowns or to the market. So that is very important. And now because of the national lockdown and because of the transport facility not available, the government has come up with the new guidelines in regards to the agriculture. So look at how we are linking it with the various. We were talking about individuals, we were talking about again the employer, individual, employer, and again we were talking about the kind of economic activity which happens in the local areas, and then we are now talking about the agriculture. So focus on various issues we are talking about, discussing, so that all this has to be kept in mind while you are actually looking at or looking at the question in the prelims or also in the writing and answer in the mains. So in regards to agriculture, so these are all what do you say blueprint. These are all part of the blueprint for the revival of the economy, Indian economy. So in regards to economic activity, the government has come up with a new concept, that is in regards to sending this or supplying or making sure that these food grains are being transported from the farmer's house or to the from the fields to the market or to the godowns, and that is what through the mass rapid transit. This is very important, again mass rapid transit. And then this should be along with the private transport, not only with just going at with the mass rapid transit and then with the private transport, that it should be making it very clear that this is taking into consideration of the social distancing, and wherever there are what you say hotspots, it should not have this what is a mass rapid transit, and then the private transport should happen or should go ahead only when there are or only in the areas wherein it is non hotspot areas. This is very very important. When you are having this blueprint in the revival of the economy, this is very important. Okay, what is blueprint? A blueprint is that you have a strategy. There is a question asked here, LS, very good morning. And the blueprint means it is a, sorry I did not respond to you immediately. Blueprint means that is you have a strategic plan. It's a plan. Blueprint means it's a plan. It's a plan to revive the economy. To revive the economy. When we are saying to revive the economy, to make sure that there are more number of economic activities, that means providing more livelihoods or more providing economic activities by the government, and that is state and the central government. And not only that, in regards to, we have to make sure that the rail and bus transport also should be having what do you say opened up. But again there is a concern, because again there is a question mark in regards to social distancing. Social distancing will not be maintained in the bus and railways, so again the spread of virus will take place. The strategic planning is also part of it. But here when we are talking about the revival or the necessary to open the road and railways, that means the buses, the trains or the buses, that means the government has to focus on that, how many people have to get into the bus or the train, that is the rail, is again a big question. Again, how the handling or how to contain the number of passengers to enter into the bus or rail is the biggest challenge. But as of now, one of the strategies is to make sure that they will have the limited number of people entering into the bus, and then the railway trying to make sure that with the various precautionary measures, social distancing, and also they have to identify with the thermal screening, that is temperature checks, thermal screening, and also in regards to the social distancing norm. Yeah, this LS, it is blueprint is used to develop the economy. Yes, here the what we are talking of the blueprint is in regards to the plan. What is this plan to revive the economy? Economic plan to revive the economy or to revive the economic activities or to provide more number of livelihoods. And before I go to the next point, Harpreet was saying that, sir, even not private player want to invest capital at this time. Yes, as pandemic, because there is no sure which way future situation likely to turn. Early investment we have in the mind. That is why we are discussing today this point. What is the topic for today? Blueprint to revive the economy. In the blueprint, what has to be mentioned is that even the confidence not only to the what is the center and the states, confidence even to the private players, that how the private players will also have the confidence to invest here, because the private players also will definitely go ahead with make business, be in the process of the business or to utilize the livelihood, economic activity, utilize the economic activity, and then make the business and then make profits also ultimately. So private players also will come into existence. That is what the focus has to be. What confidence would be created even to the private players. That is what the ICMR was talking about. I've said here one of the point. Yeah, here continuous strategic planning. This is the confidence what the government has to or will definitely in the one of the strategic planning is this what you have asked Harpit. It is in regards to continuous testing and monitoring, and then making sure that the other one which will also add to the private players is that they to open up the buses and rails. Private players, why? Because there would be a movement, and also here we are talking of the private transport wherein they will also get into the business. But all this again, what is important is they have to go ahead with the adequate precautionary measures. This is very important. Adequate precautionary measures, how the government will focus. And what are the what do you say, how the funding can take place? The funding can take place by making sure that the funding can be done to the MSMEs, because we have seen the micro, small and medium enterprises, and then small and medium enterprises are the one which have been badly hit, as we have seen the RBI pumping money into the banks, but the banks are not again providing or cushioning the MSMEs or NBFCs or SMEs with the required working capital, with the required investments, wherein again these people can further NBFCs and then ILFS, that is the financial institutes, and then non-banking financial corporations, both non-banking financial corporations and then the international or else financial institutions can pump money into the micro, small and medium enterprises or into the small and medium enterprises through providing loans. So what is important is banks are not going ahead with what you say helping this MSMEs and small and medium enterprises. So at this time, what is important is the government should come to the rescue of the SMEs, and then it should provide credit guarantee. And providing the credit guarantee, that can incentivize. That means once the credit guarantee is provided by the government to the what do you say, the one who is giving loans to the SMEs or MSMEs, that is micro, small and medium enterprises, and then small and micro enterprises through the banks, then definitely the more of working capital, this will happen, access to the capital, and then the working capital will be very high. And one of the blueprint or one of the plan to revive the economy is not that whatever we have said is all right, but what is very important is capital is important, funding is important. How the funding will take place? Funding will take place only by the RBI, or only when the government says, or only when the banks what do you say keep again give loans to the NBFCs and then micro or financial institutions, and then from then my non-banking financial institutions, and then other international financial institutions, or they again providing loans to the MSME and then SMEs. So thereby again the money circulation, the capital, the access to the capital, and then the working capital investments will be pumped into the market. That is the most important. The ultimate is that, and then for that the government has to be have the strategically it should use. The other point is foreign exchange reserves. So these reserves can be used so that to capitalize on the export opportunity. So what are the different means the government can come up with access to the capital in the sense money? What is important is where is the money, how the money can be pumped into, so that economic activity can take place. So that economic, we were all discussing about the economic activity, but how the economic activity will take place ultimately with the money. So it is the necessity that the access to the capital and then working capital to be infused into the SMEs and then MSMEs through the NBFCs and then ILFS, and through again to NBFCs and ILFS through the bankings to the banks again through RBI. So again RBI, it is the what is the government of India. So this the chain system, the linking system, how the capital investment or the access to the capital, because to enhance the economic activity is very important. This is one of the what do you say the blueprint. What is the current CRR? So we have discussed about cash resource ratio and then reverse repo rate and then CRR. Arpit says okay, very good. Arpit, we have seen that. Tania Hussain, no doubt you have asked a very valid point, but the I mean my students are also very well aware that because of the previous classes whatever I have taken is that cash resource ratio in the sense what the banks have to deposit or they have to keep it with the or to have some amount with the apex bank, that is RBI. So that why it is low, so that banks will have more money, so that banks will have money. Why what is the need for the banks to have more money? So that the banks will again what is it give loans to the individuals or to the business the one who is into business, or else even to the NBFCs and then ILFS or other financial institutions. Again NBFCs and then ILFS will again pump money into the SMEs and then MSMEs. Very good point you have raised, Sania, very good point. Because of this 4%, the banks are having more money just to increase the liquidity in the market. And then fiscal stimulus measures also should taken into what is the consideration. What is fiscal stimulus? That is the government spending money, fiscal stimulus money, and not only that, monetary policy also. What is that? Again from the government side and also from the RBI side, that the monetary, what the RBI is doing is to pumping money into the banks. What the fiscal stimulus by the government is in regards to the making sure that the money is being transferred to the vulnerable or to the beneficiaries of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan accounts. So this has to be very clear, and then they have to be redesigning the measures that how the money can be pumped into the market, or how best the MSMEs and then SMEs can have more money to make sure that the funding is revival. The most important is to revive the funding, to make sure that there is more capital into the market, so that economic activity will take place. So ultimate is funding of the revival, or else pumping the capital, or else the working capital. And then Sushant was saying local authorities, WHO guidelines, GOI. Yes, that is everything is in what do you say, kind of circular motion. And the center. Now we will look at the statistics. How the money will come? Capital. I was saying pump capital is important. Working capital is important. Whether the government has the money now, the biggest question is we look at whether the government has the money, whether the budget, the national budget, the center's budget and the state budget, whether they have the money now, at least to make sure that the blueprint to revive the economy, that is to revive the economic activity and then to infuse the working capital, is it really possible, or whatever we are talking is just only for the sake of what you said, just to discuss for 1 hour 15 minutes, or whether you will have a better understanding out once you finish this class? Definitely. Is it a myth? Is it a myth that do you have the working capital? or whatever the economic activity, the blueprint, what you said, the title of the topic itself was blueprint for the revival of the economy. So what is the ultimate blueprint is ultimate point, or the one of the measure, ultimate measure in the blueprint to revive the economy is capital, money. Where is the money? Now we look at center alone has budgeted to spend 4 lakh crore rupees on capital expenditure. So we have the money. 4 lakh crores. 4 lakh crores. With the MPLAT's 2 years, it has come to on to 79,000 crores. 1000, that is 1000. But the government center has budgeted to spend 4 lakh crores on capital expenditure. Please do understand why I was talking about capital infusing or funding, revival of the funding, capital, and then working capital expenditure. The center has budgeted. This is very, very important for prelims point of view, and you will have more understanding when you can write descriptive in the mains. Until unless you know what is the budget the center has in regards to the capital expenditure, you will have a very, very, what you say, an understanding which is not really useful. You have facts, you have statistics, then your analysis or your writing will be very, what do you say, impressive. For this fiscal year itself, 4 lakh crores on capital expenditure, and combined with the state and center, the total expenditure budget, please look at it very keenly. The center and states, first is 4 lakh is only in regards to the center capital expenditure for this fiscal year. And when we look at in regards to the center and states together, total expenditure on budget is 70 lakh crore rupees for the 2020 and 20, or else financial year 2020 and 2021, that is fiscal year, 70 lakh crore rupees. So at least through this article, I'm not saying I am saying, through this article, through our discussion, on the basis of the article, there is money. There is working capital expenditure which is with the states and central governments together. There is 70 lakh crores of rupees. What is important is blueprint is important. Blueprint to revive the economy is important. And that is the need of the blueprint is important. Plan is important. Strategic exit plan is important. Calibrated exit plan is important. Taking into consideration social distancing is maintained. Taking into consideration the spread of virus will not take place. So a blueprint is very, very important for the lives and the livelihood. Please do understand here. The blueprint is very, very important for the lives and the livelihood. Blueprint is important for the health crisis, to overcome the health crisis. A blueprint is important to overcome the economic crisis. I presume now you are understanding the amount of, what do you say, that explanation what I have taken is for this. And for this you need to have all this in the place, so that you will have more knowledge, you are more equipped, you have more skills, knowledge, skills to write an answer and to what do you say, eliminate an option in the prelims. And now the total estimated fiscal package will cost 5 to 6 lakh crores out of this entire 70 lakhs. But the government the central government has gone ahead with the capital expenditure for this fiscal year 4 lakh. But if you go ahead with the estimated fiscal package, because of this pandemic situation, please do understand here, because of the estimated fiscal package of the pandemic, it will cost 5 to 6 lakh crores. No doubt here the state and center should work in tandem. So we will definitely come out of the economic crisis. The center can borrow money by various means. External commercial borrowings could be from what is IMF, WB, or it can take grants from even the developed countries, Asian Development Bank, IMF, WB also. And it can also, what you say, without making sure that the private investments are being what do you say, pressurized to pump money into the center to the center in regards to the borrowing money concept, or the government or the center should not, what do you say, have or borrow more money. The other process, one is from the private investors, the other one is, what do you say, external commercial borrowing, that is from the IMF, WB, or it could be in regards to the ADB, Asian Development Bank, or any financial institutions, or any country also we can go ahead with that. And the other one is, which is not, what do you say, reliable, and which is not accepted at this moment, that is by pushing the interest rate. By increasing the interest rates, they can also borrow money, but that is not the right. I mean, this third one is not, I feel personally, it is not appropriate at this time. And other one is going ahead with more savings. How savings? By cutting down, axing the expenditure. Wasteful expenditure is important. And what the pandemic COVID-19 is teaching us is how to save money. Please do understand. This is also a very, very big lesson. What pandemic, not only just to save lives, not just to, what is, revive the economy. The pandemic 19 is teaching us how to save money, how we should not have a wasteful expenditure. And a final resort, what is the final option, is to make sure that they come up with having additional money, what because of the deficit, they can monetize part of the additional deficit, because now we definitely, what do you say, we have some concerns in regards to the fiscal package. So what is the final point is printing money, because I think someone has asked me whether printing money can be done in the previous classes. I don't know who has, what is, put in that point. Previous classes, definitely, to overcome the additional deficit. So definitely, the final resort is printing money. And the conclusion is, a microorganism has brought humankind to its knees. Please do understand. And it speaks volumes. I'm saying it speaks. What it, in the sense, this statement speaks volume. Volume in the sense, it is sending a message, very strong message. Prashant Munja has joined just now. I would say hi to Prashant, but we have just, winding up the class. No problem. And the class, okay, Prashant, probably you are not aware. I think the class has been preponed from 11 to 12 to 10 to 1. 10 to 11. Extremely sorry. 10 to 11. In fact, I have taken extra time of 22 minutes. It is 10 to 11. I presume that you are unaware of it. The class is not earlier because you were earlier. You were unaware. I could understand that you, when you just, you are joined here. It is 10 to 11. Tomorrow also, from tomorrow also, it will be 10 to 11. I'll keep you posted when it will change. But as of now, it will be 10 to 11. And today we discussed about the COVID-19 pandemic and how a blueprint to revive the Indian economy. Blueprint to revive the Indian economy. That was a topic what we have discussed. And then the conclusion is, a microorganism has brought humankind to its knees, as health scientists say. A proverb or saying we have taken here. We must learn to live with virus. That means we have to live, live, and livelihoods also should be created. So here in this case, many of them might find this statement that what health scientists are saying, we must learn to live with virus. That means one thing is, you might feel that it is a contradictory statement. But what I would say is, definitely we must learn to live with virus. That means we have to have more of health infrastructure in place, more of expenditure towards the health system, fine, and then following the health hygiene system, and then making sure that we have a very good lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, very good in the sense not luxurious, healthy lifestyle. And then making sure that lifestyle, when I'm saying that, we need to improve our immunity. Only when we improve our immunity, then we can learn to live with virus and the others what I've said, the government spending on it, right? And last, but which is very important, is that we need to make sure that we are not disturbing the ecology and environment. We are not getting into the or barging into the biosphere. We are not, what you said, disturbing the wildlife area. Then we can make sure that we can live with the virus. It's a concept like live and let live, live and let live. Only when we have that concept of live and let live, then we will, then this statement will not hold good. Please understand. When we can go ahead with live and let live, live and let live, only then, live and let live, only then humans will live, microorganisms also will live. And then I've said various reasons how we can, what do you say, we need to again respect the microbes also. We need to respect the microbes where it has to be kept there. If you are fiddling it, if you are disturbing it, it will get into the, what do you say, human habitat, and it will destroy the humankind itself or human race itself. That is why humans are onto their knees, and we should understand this. And this is what is the conclusion. And then I will just read the last point now, what Harpita has written. Sir, earth belong to all, but man can encroach. Yes, absolutely, and presume that they can control everything, but it is a fluke. This microorganism proved it. So we have to respect for nature. If you are not respecting the nature will heal itself. The nature, the planet Earth was repeatedly reminding, cautioning the humans that you are destroying the nature. We didn't heed to what nature was saying. In fact, we have destroyed the nature. And then now the Mother Earth is healing itself. Please to understand. The Mother Earth is healing itself. And when it is healing itself, what is the consequence is loss of life. Definitely it is bound to happen. Definitely it is bound to happen that the human race, to some extent, it would be, what do you say, we would be losing the lives. The earth, Mother Earth has cautioned, we did not react it positively. We thought that we can do everything because we have the technology. We have to actually read the signals and messages what nature gives to us, what nature sends to us. Only then we can have, what do you say, a prolonged life and a happy life. Well, smooth. I suppose it was a very good session in regards to the blueprint for the revival of the economy and also the way we have concluded it. And this is how the UPSC preparation has to be in a varied aspect, and also in regards to having a thorough understanding about the entire concepts, individual concepts, and linking the various concepts and then coming up with a new answer. That is what is the need of the hour, and the one who, need of the hour for the civil servant aspirants, and the one who are into this will definitely crack services. And then Prashant says that with this, all governments in the world woke up in the healthcare where we are. Probably India will also react. And Shubhriya says because we totally depend on nature of Mother Earth. We should. And the Mother Earth gives many things to us, but we are not. And then I would wind it up here because almost it is 1.5 hours. Please forgive me if I have extended, if I have troubled you all for taking extra 30 minutes. So why I mean to say is that I could have winded it up there itself. Once 1 hour, 5 minutes, I could have winded it up. But I don't feel happy that because I'm just leaving you in the midst without, what you say, giving you complete information, which will be very wrong on my part as an educator, as a lecturer. Very wrong on my part, and I shouldn't do it. If it is extending 30 minutes, also it doesn't matter to me because extra 30 minutes is not part of that what I'm actually supposed to take 1 hour, but extra 30 minutes is nothing to me. I will definitely take for the benefit of the students, having a better knowledge. And then see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Thank you everyone. And then I'm winding it up. I'm closing the session. Thanks to you, sir, for briefing us for a marvelous explanation. Thank you very much. And thanks to everyone. And then please go ahead with subscribing. Please go ahead with subscribing the Unacademy Plus. Unacademy Plus. And then while you are subscribing, please make sure that you are using my code SBT10 Sandeep Bhushan Thummala 10. Sandeep Bhushan Thummala 10, so that you can get 10% discount. And do not forget this Sandeep Bhushan Thummala 10 while you are subscribing. Thank you. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow at 10 p.m. Extremely sorry, 10 a.m.